So, yeah, unfortunately, it's still getting quite dark quite early this time of year. So I'm about to start trying to build the Ragley frame. Quite frankly, tonight, the only thing I've got time for is to actually probably go over it with Bike Protect. So I was just checking the frame just to make sure it's not filthy in any way. Now, if I can reduce that, there we go. So just went over the frame, actually moved it into the kitchen temporarily, just to make sure that I need a better bulb in here basically. I have actually got a light, it's just, yeah, it's pants. The axle probably needs clean up. What I'm going to do is just going to go over with Muc Off Bike Protect. Now, Bike Protect is just basically it's a they call it PTFE or whatever coating, so it gives it a bit of protection. Obviously not on the scale of PTFE film, but it gives a bit of protection. It gives it makes it stay clean for longer, and it smells nice. That's not what I'm trying to say, but yeah, basically it's easier to do it now while the bike's apart than once it's together. So I'm going to do the rear triangle first, and then I'll move where the clamp is, and then I'll do the front triangle. So if I put that down and get my Bike Protect out, give it a good shake. Also want my my Mucoff microfiber cloth. So I'm going to spray that. Top just come flying off. It's that slippy, but yeah, it's just basically basically. So, and I can't really see where I'm going, but you know, the amount of spraying, the chances are I'm probably getting quite close to covering the frame, I'd have thought. And what I'm not, obviously we'll push around with the microfiber cloth. Well, that should be enough. Drips all over my floor. So we'll get the microfiber cloth, and you know, we'll just rub it in, dry it off, basically. It really is important to make sure the bike's clean before doing this, to be honest, because it temporarily seals shit in otherwise. It's not long lasting, this stuff, but yeah, last thing you want is for your new frame to look a bit shit because you've tried to take precautions. So that's what I'm doing tonight. Hopefully tomorrow I might have a bit more time to do other things. Right, so it's about 5 o'clock in the morning. I say I should have ordered a better light. Actually, I might do that on Amazon today. I'll order one of those clip lights and just for illuminating, so I can get the rest of the build done over the week. So I'm gonna fit the bottom bracket. Did I say it was 5 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, I'm gonna fit this bottom bracket. So to do that, bottom bracket, measure it 73mm. I'm not going to measure it because I just took it off the manufacturer's website, which basically means I need one spacer ring on the drive side. The other two I just discard because I hope they're probably worth an absolute fortune. Go get the stickers and manual out of the middle of it. Gonna grease the threads first, then we'll pop it in. So I'll come back once I've greased. So, not that you'll be able to see because of the light, but there's some grease in there. I'll just quickly wipe off the face. I've got a bit of grease on the face there. You don't have to, I'm just, you know, being fussy. Right, so, bottom bracket. This is a screw type one. So, there's identify the drive side. So, hopefully you'll be able to see that it says drive side on it. Remember the drive side is a reverse thread, so you tighten it going anti-clockwise. This is the non-drive side, that's traditional thread, so tighten it going clockwise. And you'll need, if you're using a screw type bracket, one of these. So I'm just going to pop it in by hand first. So I'll just swap over hands because it's on my right. Pop that in, as I say. It feels weird when you do it, but just sort of but yeah, definitely do grease your threads. If you, I suppose it's especially relevant if you've got a steel frame, but even if it's an aluminium cup, just do it anyway. Just saves a lot of hassle later on when you end up having to pull these things out. I mean, these hope ones are serviceable, but that seems to be taking an age. But yeah, these hope ones are serviceable, so you don't have to bin the whole lot. Which, yeah, for the money, they bloody should be. But let's get the drive side one, the non-drive side one on now. As I say, with the non-drive side, it's just traditional go clockwise to tighten. So I've done it with my left hand actually. Right, so then tighten it down with one of these. Do drive side first. As I say, remember you're going anti-clockwise. You don't have to lean on it, but yeah, you want it snug enough because you don't want it coming undone. Not that they do. And obviously this one clockwise. So just get that on there. There we go. There we go. And that's the bottom bracket. Now, I need to clean a lot of stuff before it goes back on. And I don't really fancy sitting a headset cups in the dark. So, because I really want to watch them go in. Yeah, we'll have to come back to some of this when I've got a bit more light. Thank you. Well, the weather's random at the moment, but at least it's a bit more light. So very quickly, I'm going to press these cups into my head tube, but yeah, we're using a bearing press, well, not bearing, a headset press. So we'll go through that in a moment. But first of all, we're going to just grease the top and bottom of the head tube, which should hopefully make it easy to get these in. But also make it easy to take them out if I ever need to. Okay, sorry, so I've put the grease in the head tube and the bottom. You won't be able to see, you can see the top. Now I'm going to use one of these presses sorry, to put these two cups in. So I'm just going to quickly set this up. If I pop that there, sorry. This particular type, which is a lifeline one, you slide the bottom off, you wind the top out, probably not massively too far, and then we put probably the right way around would help. We put the top cup as far as long as it will go. We insert this into the head. I'm going to wing in a prayer here while that balances. We then take the bottom cup, put it as low as it will go. We slot this on, we lock it, and then we move that handle until it presses. Now I'm not going to be able to show this because I'm holding the camera and this, but next time you should see these cups pressed into the frame. Obviously you want the hope towards the front, so you know, try and get it as aligned as possible. Just be careful, be slow, just make sure they're going in relatively level. So that's it, wound all the way in, so the head cup's in, and hopefully the hope is relatively centered. So I'm looking at the very front of the bike. I'm not sure this Ragley badge is actually centered, but you know, there we go. So the hope and headset there in the middle, and top cup's in. So I'm just going to take the headset tool out now. So the headset tool is out, cup is pressed in. We'll just make sure that, just go around, make sure it's even. It is, and the top as well, it's all even. Yeah, and that's how you press a cup in. Now if you haven't got a professional cut price Lifeline headset press, which is about 45 quid from CRC, you could use something like this, but to be honest, especially if you're using Hope cups, because they're quite tight, they're a bit crap. Probably taken several attempts and a lot of energy to try and get that in, so it is worthwhile using the proper tool. So you know, buying a proper tool or borrowing the proper tool. But that's the headset in. So in terms of everything else that needs to go on the bike, the old stuff, it all needs cleaning before I can get on there, which I'm not going to have time today, unfortunately. But we'll come back to this tomorrow. Okay, I can imagine that this edit is probably going to be quite bitty by the time I'm finished. I'm basically just grabbing every spare moment I can to actually do work on the build. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start, for example, break down these wheels, not into spokes and everything, but take the tyres off, take the cassette off, take the brake discs off, largely for cleaning. And all this stuff here that I'm going to use, you know, I'm going to basically break it into, you know, what's going to be cleaned, how it's going to be cleaned, what needs to be serviced, and I'll go through that in a moment. And obviously my forks as well. Now, ideally, I'd be, well, and actually let's come back a bit. It's worth cleaning everything down because whilst everything's off the bike, it's easier to clean. It's easier to clean properly. And you're not going to get this chance again until you break the bike down again. So it is worth just, you know, getting everything as clean as possible before you put it back on. Now, the fork, ideally, I would want to service this before putting it back on the bike. Unfortunately, Fox supplies into the UK, everything's on back order. I've been waiting on seals for 3 weeks already, as well as five weight oil. The tyres are fine, and actually I've checked the bearings, they're all running smooth, so I don't need to do the servicing on the hubs, but if I did, good time to do it. Pedals, so my DMR Vault pedals, my Brendog ones, they definitely need servicing, so you know, we'll do that before they go back on. My Fox transfer post, that needs servicing, but again, getting Fox parts is a nightmare at the moment, so if I send that away now, I'm not going to see it again for a bit. So you know, I'll deal with the forks and the dropper post when there's time. So it's basically the breakdown now. So the cranks, for example, they will be both Muc Offed now, and the chain ring will be cleaned using WD-40. Anything that's largely like a bolt or something like that, I'll just clean in WD-40, chain, WD-40, and the cassette, both Muc Off and WD-40. So yeah, it really depends on what it is. If it's something that just needs cleaning because it's dirty, probably Muc Off. Anything that would rust or benefit from maybe a WD-40 clean as well, I'll do that. So bolts, definitely just WD-40. Though actually I'm putting a lot of titanium bolts on this build. things like cables and outers I've got new, bearings I've got new, stem I've got new, so I'll set that up. So in terms of prioritisation, I want to get the forks cleaned, I want to get the cranks cleaned because they can just be bashed on, it's quite easy. Then probably things like the dropper post, and then, you know, wheels, that sort of thing. So as I say, time's against me, so I'm just going to focus on the forks, strip down the wheels, and I'll get the cranks cleaned as well, and the dropper post. So I feel like I might have done this before actually. We're just going to do a quick how to remove a cassette from a hub or a wheel. So you need one of these chain tools, and we'll just pop this spline on. Now all this stuff's quite old. I've had this stuff for ages, so it's probably not the greatest, but what you need to do then is just sort of apply about 40 newton meters of pressure, because it should be 40 newton meters, and then bolt comes off, job's are good, and you can pull the cassette off then. All good. Right, whilst the just before the light goes completely, we're just going to, you know, clean everything down. Might need to get another bottle of Muc Off, but you know, we're just going to put Muc Off on everything, brush it, wash it down, jobs are good, it'll be clean. We'll leave it to dry, and that's probably today. Okay, so yet another early morning. It's about 5:30. It's just obviously still very dark. Hopefully we'll get a new light come later, so I can actually do some work into the night. But for now I'm just gonna, that was my wheels. I'm just gonna fit the cranks. So the drive side, the non-drive side, a nut which basically does the pre-tension, and a tool, because I'll need that tool there for this nut here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to grease this shaft. So I'm going to do that now, and when I come back that'll be greased, and we'll go for the insertion. Okay, so that is grease. You don't want to put too much grease on, because it just ends up all over the place. The tolerances on Shimano stuff's quite high, to be honest, so things generally are quite tight. But you obviously want to get the spline bit, you want that to be greased, and the shaft, just a very, very thin layer of grease around it, not right to the bottom, because as you push it down, the grease will go down anyway. And what you don't want is a big accumulation of grease around here. It'll just attract shit basically. Do remember to avoid getting grease on the chainring, because you know, grease and chains just don't mix. So we're just going to pop that in. So just swap hands because it's on my right. Way of getting this through the light. So obviously a bit restricted at the moment, but I'll just pop that in. It just sort of goes in like so. Just trying not to get grease on my frame at the moment, because I've got a bit on my hands. I haven't washed my hands properly. So now we're going to put the arm on. Wherever I've put that down, it's over here. Right. So we'll just put the arm on. Obviously, just remember, if that's down, this is up. So, and looking with these Shimano ones, they only really go on one way anyway. So just wiggle that on like so. Okay, you've got like a little thing there, but put the pre-tensioner nut in first. Just make sure you don't cross thread it. The joys of doing this whilst trying to hold the camera. So obviously initially just it's going to be quite loose, but then get your tool, pop it on there, come on, right, and just sort of tighten that. You don't want to be leaning off it, but it needs to be tight enough so these cranks aren't wobbling. tighter than I've just done that. I'm about to do it again because obviously I've only got one hand. Once you've done that, you want to pop this little thing in, and you want to torque these two bolts up about 12 to 14 Newton meters. Maybe go 13, allow for a little bit of inaccuracy on your torque wrench, and that's cranks. Okay, so whilst my forks dry off from a coating of Bike Protect, I'm just going to just start, basically putting the wheels back together. So I'm just going to clean these rotors off. So the isopropyl, just going to spray them over. Do the other side. Just try not to touch the rotor at all. Basically, is probably the safest bet. Especially as I've just been handling grease. So I'm going to wash my hands before I scrub these. Oh, there we go. So I'm just going to go wash my hands, and then I'll wipe these down, and I'll start putting the wheels back together. That's going to be boring, so I'm not going to video that bit. Actually, I might video putting the cassette on, but yeah, I'll video putting the cassette on, but that's when I'll come back. Okay, so now we're going to fit the cassette, but first of all, I just want to show you this. So the discs are on both wheels, and I've used these lovely titanium oil slick bolts, so looks the part, I think. We're going to do this, so I'm just going to lay the wheel down first. Hopefully I'm not killing anything like that. So this is a Microspline hub. This is a 12-speed cassette. So I'm going to do first, I'm just going to cut off this cable tie. It's about as far away from Allen keys you can get, which I basically just put on to keep everything ordered. I have sort of quickly washed and WD-40'd this cassette. But yeah, so it was quick, and this cassette's got just over 1,000 miles on it. So am I going to get completely clean? No, simply. But with Microspline, it's quite easy. You just line it up with the big gap and the big tooth, and they just slide on. But first of all, we're just going to put some very quickly. Just put some of this bike grease just around, and if I do it here, then actually as I push the cassette on, it will go in and down. So yeah, it don't have to be completely perfect. At the end of the day, this is a home bodge job. As long as I don't end up with too much all over the place. So I'm just going to podge this into the grooves. But obviously this is easier when you've got both hands free, but I wouldn't be videoing it then, would I? Right, it's important not to get the grease on the actual teeth or teeth surface, because you don't want to get grease on chain. It really is just to stop the cassette welding itself to the Microspline hub. So if I rotate this back, it's probably possibly the worst way of doing this, but stop there. I'm just going to line the teeth up like thus, and just slide it on. Simple. Right. So next thing, important to get the next set of cogs and spacers on in the right order. So this is just going to quickly wipe this one because it's fucking filthy. Okay, do bit of hair on it. Right, so you'll know it's up, right, because you'll see, not that you'll be able to see on the video, but it says 18 teeth on that, for example. So if it's got the tough rating or the tough count on it, then it's the right way up. And we'll just pop this on again, just line it up, and it should just pop on, but it's not. I say again, look, you know, this cassette has got quite a bit of wear on it. Now it's a spacer. Now the next one. So this is the, just going to clean it off. Just going to clean it off. Try and find which way around this should be. This is 16. See? That don't seem right, does it? But anyway, these only go on one way anyway because of the way the teeth profile is. So there we go. Then it's spacer, like so. Then I'm just going to clean this one off. Very quickly. Right, so this is 14. So let's pop that on there. Next one. Now this is like pretty much the last one that actually sits on the spline. It's the second from last, or the 11th cog, or however you want to describe it. So best thing to do is just sort of line it first. Because otherwise you just basically go around. So there we are, first time, perfect. Unusual. This is the 12 cog, or the 10 tooth. This sits on top of the 11th cog. So again, just line it up like so. And then it's the lock ring, which I say WD-40 just before. So I'm just going to quickly clean off the excess. Petite dog hair. So then using your tool, your cassette tightening or lock ring tool, just sort of tighten it up, and then using your ratchet on there, you probably want 40 Newton meters, which is like yeah, it's quite a heave. But that's the cassette one. So the last thing for today, the fork onto the bike, and then we'll put the wheels on. And when I say today, I mean this morning. Unfortunately, I'm working 12-hour days at the moment, so don't get a lot of time to do build. But then actually this is very representative of, you know, typical people that want to build bikes. You know, if you're about my age, you know, you're working, you're got family life, family commitments, you know, you've your life's not really your own, so you know, you are building your bike at unsociable hours, in the dark, all the rest of it, and it's just part of the course. Hopefully, you know, some of you can actually relate to the way I'm having to do this content. It's not polished, it's, you know, we've got no workbench or anything else, like, you know, sort of maybe more professional videos on the subject. If this is effectively somebody with, you know, other commitments in life, just trying to get their bike together. But basically, crane race is on. This is actually the crane race from the previous build. It's a Hope headset, so it's exactly the same crane race. That's the bottom bearing. So I'll just put that on the fork now so I don't lose it. I'm going to rest that up against there for a moment. Now, what I haven't obviously shown, because I haven't had to do anything, is this has got Hope, what do they call it? Something Doctor or something. I can't remember, but generally you end up with a star-fangled nut in there, and they're quite rubbish. So this is the Hope overly expensive alternative, which you basically just drop into the fork and tighten. It means you can remove it afterwards, but I don't need to because I'm fitting a Hope hub. So first things first, I'm just going to grease, so a bit of grease into the cups, just a bit of surface grease. Then we're going to start sitting everything in, but I'm going to need two hands for a moment, so when I come back these will be greased. Okay, so for my next trick, we're going to pop I've already greased the head cups. We're going to pop the fork in, mainly for a test fit initially, but if it goes really well we'll just bolt it down. That's the top headset, so we've got the bearing, which I'm just put the right way around. Then we've got the clamp, our split ring. Then we've got some shims, generally put one or two. Maybe one, and then the actual top of the headset, just obviously rotated accordingly to try and get the Hope bit at the front. Then we've got spacers and stem. Now I've got some new nice Hope spacers, so I don't quite know how many I'm going to need, but if I remember correctly I had a spacer at the top of the stem. And then I'm going to put the top cap on, and it's branded nuke proof. Yeah, it's basically a Wahoo or Garmin mount top cap, so I can put my Wahoo device on top of my stem. So I'm not quite sure I'm going to do this whilst videoing. Let's see how it goes. So I know I'm going to need these bits and the fork first. So I'm going to prepare these, pop the fork in, put them on that finger there, and yeah, let's see how this goes. So let's get the fork in, like this, and if I sort of pop my knee, I'll move this round, pop my knee there, and I'll be the fucking greatest person ever. I mean, yeah. So it's really, my knee must be just boost because it just about fits. I have a boost knee. So now it's the bearing drops in. Make sure it's the right way round. So I'm just going to wiggle the fork around a bit just to I can get the bearing in. Sorry if you feel sick for the footage. You don't need to have everything tight down because the whole process of preload will bring everything down anyway. I'm just going to put the lock ring in. Now it is important the lock ring is actually sitting properly, so I'm going to come back in a second. So lock ring's in place. Now looking at this, I don't think I'm going to need a shim. I'm just going to put one on and we'll see how that looks. I'll put the oh, joys of doing everything. Oh, come on. Sorry, I know the camera's aiming down at the moment. Let me just get my knee back in. Right. This might be another put the camera down method moment when I try and put this on. Yeah, because these are always bloody tight, these Hope ones. Right, putting the camera down again, this will be down there. Okay, so I'd say I'd struggled. Actually, you know what I did was I just filed down the top a bit more. Obviously, it might have had a slight burr or what, not burr, what do they call it? Like an edge around it, so I've just sanded it off a bit. But that's gone on now. So that's the headset part. Now it's the spacers and stem. So I'm just going to grab some spacers, bear with me. And we'll grab the vast selection of sizes we have. Doing all this one-handed. I'm just going to put the stem in my pocket. Just so I can get easy access to that. Right, so Oh, water exposure, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Right, sorry about that. My GoPro was just the screen as I picked it up. So, all that's down. Put some spacers on. Not quite sure how many I want. I think I had quite a few on the last frame. Obviously, then I've got stem. Yeah, that's probably about right. So if I just put the stem on, I'll straighten all the spacers in a moment. And if I put those, no. So I need either another small spacer or a fatter one. So bear with me. Set them two off. This is my other packet. So I probably want that one. See how that one looks. No, it's only a spacer. So if I do a little one, that'll give me what I need. Now you I could just cut down the fork. I try to keep my fork steerers quite long, or at least have a bit of length in them, just in case I change frames, which is obviously what's happened. So I'm just going to grab my top cap, bear with me. So I grab the top cap and the Allen key and go for it. Alright, use the magic boost knee again. I'm just going to pop the top cap on. Now, once you got it to about that tight, you can let go. Quite frankly, it ain't going anywhere at that point. Now, what this does, this top cap is, as I say, just preloads the whole system. So if I loosen that off, so I keep touching my screen. So if I loosen this off a bit, it ain't going anywhere because, as I say, it's holding everything together. I'm just going to move around some of the spacers. I'm just being a bit anal now. So, yeah, and that one and that one. And then we just tighten this down. Now, I need both hands now just to support everything as I tighten that down. But that is the fork on. I'll come back when we have the wheels on. Right, so I've put the wheels on, and you know what, that is just it's a mental trick. So it makes you think that it's not that far away. Look, there's a lot more I have to do, and actually I have to take the wheels off to do the brake calipers and the bleeding and everything anyway. So I say just a bit of a mental trick, but you know, it takes 2 minutes. Just to, with the Hope the Hope stem, I also put some oil slick titanium bolts in, just to naturally the other bolts that are going in various places. And that actually concludes this part. So in the next part, we're going to do what shall we do? Cable routing, and probably brake. Yeah, we'll do cables, brakes. Yeah, that's what we'll do in the next part.